Hello everyone. It's been almost 3 years of corona pandemic and undoubtedly it took a lot of lives. It made people suffer right from the below poverty line to the richest person. But also it taught us a lot of lessons. It showed us the things to change. Now, in today's session, we will be specifically discuss the effects of corona pandemic on the educational system in India. So I welcome all our panel members, Dr. M Raghu Bapiraju, Assistant Professor, Department of Pharmacy Practice, Dr. Shaik Faizan Ali, Assistant Professor, Department of Pharmacy Practice, and our Senior Faculty Anil Kumar sir from the Department of Pharmacology. I welcome you all, sir.
Thank you.
So my first question to Anil sir. Sir, how did Corona affected the educational system in India?
Yeah, thank you, Santhosh. First, I would like to start with a small quote for your question. So, there is a quote from Nelson Mandela saying, education is the only weapon which we can use to transform the world. And I think we truly believe it. So, we have seen particularly in developing countries like India, so education has been the most powerful weapon. So, to even bring back families, okay, so change economical statuses, okay, and also bring lot of freedom in people. So but if you particularly see COVID-19 pandemic, not only education, there are a lot of sectors, okay, which have been ruined because of the pandemic. So today mostly we'll emphasize on education. Firstly, starting with my profession. So because I'm in teaching profession, I've been seeing the changes in education particularly very closely. So when we see these what you can say educational population or student population, what are the major trends which have been occurred particularly in this pandemic is, first is student dropouts. So we have seen almost from March 2020 they have been in continuous lockdown, then intermittent lockdowns. We have been seen particularly in primary schools there have been a lot of dropouts. And if we say particularly from UNESCO, there is a report in 2021 January that almost 47% of the total student population have been affected due to this. So 47% I don't think is a small number or a small percentage. 47 is a very large thing, and particularly big impact for a country like ours. What are the different trends we generally observed? Particularly, I have been observing higher education mostly. So what are the trends is, so first thing is lot of screen time. So we have seen immediately after pandemic, there have been absolute change in the timetables. So the way people live, how they manage their time. What is the discipline they have been maintaining? Okay, so that have been completely ruined. So we have been seeing, so immediately after pandemic, we have been starting online classes for students. So we are seeing most of the students are not interested, and we cannot engage them for a longer period of time. So in classes, we have a lot of activities, teacher-student interactions, so group activities for learning. All these things have been at halt. So if we see the trends, the first trend is so increase in digital content. Okay, more contact of the student with digital content, and second thing is increase in screen time. And third trend we have been observing is decrease in interest in education in students. So these are the some of the major things which we have been observing. So and most important thing is attention deficit. So I think we all agree with this.
Yes.
So whenever we see this pandemic education, or when we are saying, or we are particularly involved in online classes, there is a lot of attention deficit in students. Okay, so which obviously will bring learning losses. Okay, so decrease in the quantum of learning and also the quality of learning in students. Secondly, I want to particularly talk about the impact on the group. Okay, particularly disadvantages groups are middle income and lower income groups, where Wi-Fi may not be a luxury to everybody. So in such cases, students who do not have access to, or rural areas, people who have been in rural areas, etc., there have been lot of difficulties in grasping the systems. Even some of the education institutions have been providing digital content. Most of the students are unable to receive that content. Okay, so switching to digital content or digital platforms is difficult to most of the students because there is no internet or direct access to internets. So, and third point I want to discuss is loss of academic integrity. Okay, because we all know, as I'm talking about different activities, so different things like you can say contract cheatings. So particularly when we talk about digital contents, we have been seeing that people have been involved in multiple things, decrease in concentration on one particular thing. So then file sharings when we conduct exams.
Yes.
Okay, so and students copying during online exams. So there also been some contract scrutiny systems, etc. But the thing is, we all know. So there are a lot of breach in copyrights. Copyright content have been breached. All these things have been observed. So in total, we can say that higher education majorly produces the workforce for the country, because higher education immediately. So higher education is not compulsory for everybody, but majorly all the professionals are evolving after graduation or higher education. So because this pandemic has brought a lot of changes in higher education, particularly what you can say, so the quality of education that is imbibed into the student have been decreased. So I can say higher education, or there have been a ruining of future workforce.
Thank you, sir. So my second question to Bapiraju, sir. So with the concept of National Education Policy 2020, particularly for the school students, how can you relate it to the current scenario?
Okay. So, to talk about national education policy, maybe we need to go back and look the long back history of NAP. So, we have the first post-independence, we have the first NAP in 60, 65, 68. So,
68.
later on we have in 86.
Yes.
Almost it took 34 years for development of new education policy. The main aim of this NAP is to promote India as knowledge superpower. So till now we have proven in various cases. So now it's a case of education sector. So this NAP 2022 mainly focuses on two aspects we need to talk about. One thing is school level education and second level is higher education. So particularly when we compare with previous NAP and present NAP, so previously it was made essential or made compulsory for the age of 6 to 14 as compulsory school education term. But later on it was changed in 2020 NAP where students of age 3 to 18 are made compulsory for the school education. Maybe this is the biggest thing that they have taken as a reform. So with this reform, what they have done is they have translated 10 plus 2 education system which we have previously into 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So it's one of the newest concept, maybe not newest concept to the world. Maybe for Indian scenario, it was the newest thing. So where 3 years of preschooling where we have Anganwadis and etc. which have been popularly called now. So that 3 along with class 1 and class 2 is together we call them as first level of education. Where in that people are or students are expected to learn activity based learning and also gamified based learning. It was the main objective of that first level. So maybe second level talks about 3 which is talking about class 3, 4 and 5. So particularly in this class NEP wants the stakeholders to embed relationship at this particular level of 2. So in this level of 2 the main curriculum what it is expected is they want to have some core elements of relationship and core elements of friendship and etc. in this particular level 2. And level 3 also talks about 3 years which is 6 plus 7 plus 8. Class 6, class 7 and class 8 mainly comes under level 3 of this program. And this particular level 3 is mainly focused on mathematical and foundational courses of basic language. So it is expected till class level 1, level 2 it is expected to have in the local language. Preferably mother tongue is highly emphasized in these particular levels. And coming to level 3 and 4 there is a scope of universal language learning. And this particular level 3 gives basement foundations, and level 4 is talking about class 9, 10, 11 and 12. So this class 9, 10, 11 and 12 mainly focuses on pre-undergraduational level of understanding, where the core concepts, especially in holistic point of view. So all the things in 5 plus 3 plus 3 4 is expected is, rather than a knowledge based knowledge driven education, it is expected to have an holistic uh, type of education system in this 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 model. And this mainly focuses on what we can call to decrease the dropouts, as well as to increase the percentage of literacy. Till now it's very difficult. After 75 years of independence, it's we have been still facing a lot of difficulty in making the 100% literacy. But with this policy, it is expected by the year of 2030, 100% of adult literacy and child literacy is expected with this policy, which is aiming towards that. So coming to the other part of this NEP 2020, which is focusing enough on higher education too. So the main key points, if you look in NEP 2020 in particular to the higher education, is its credit bank, which they have introduced for the first of its kind in India. So we have these credit banks in international universities yet, but it was the first time where this NEP have introduced the credit bank, where the student have its own freedom in choosing its programs. The main objective of this NEP in higher education is to impart multidisciplinary. So no longer we'll have only engineering programs or only degree programs or only occasional programs or only arts programs. So now the engineer graduate, if he wish or he want to learn some economics, he can with this multidisciplinary program. And life science graduate can learn engineering concepts if we wish.
That can be a greater
That
advantage.
can be a greater advantage with this credit system and with this NEP. And student with vast knowledge, student have the scope of learning vast knowledge, which practically till now it is not possible with the previous NEPs. And hopefully this could be a great advantage that students of undergraduate and postgraduate can take. And it also mainly focuses on holistic approach once again, but in a multidisciplinary way. And it also targets on international what we call international applications of present knowledge what they have gained. And to nicely quote this with the example of the quote of Swami Vivekananda, who have nicely said that the very essential of, or the very essence of education is nothing but its concentration of mind. So one can concentrate on mind can happen only with proper education.
Beautiful, sir. Sir, my third question to Ali, sir. Sir, there is a paradigm shift from the culture of book reading to the culture of digital learning. So how can we see this change in this present scenario?
Actually, nowadays students are more attracted towards the digital content, and they prefer that they are going to understand it in an easy way. At some point it's correct, but distraction is much more than attraction. Their students are thinking that they are learning very easily, but actually their brain is doing more work. If they read the book, they will concentrate it on only one task, whereas while seeing the video they will concentrate on multiple tasks. Their brain has to work for multiple tasks, and concentration usually shift and distractions also occurs. So my view is digital education is somewhat best option. In this regard, I support like smart classes and online contents. Like there are many platforms like YouTube, edX, Coursera. They are offering online contents and smart classrooms. Through smart classrooms, students can understand very easily, but imparting some traditional way of education is also very good. Like we can use the technology for improvising learning processes and for plagiarism checks, quality of their content by checking the plagiarism and quick analytics. When we keep the text, uh, as soon as the person completes the test, student, it gives marks like that. And then use of artificial intelligence, analyzing the performance of the students, and it will create an easy platform for the professor also. But there are many challenges like usage of new technology. One should know how to use the technology, and the school should provide the infrastructure for it, like computers, softwares, and internet Wi-Fi connections that should be imparted by the institution. Like that, universities also have to include it in curriculum. Many of the universities are not seeing the goal or having the vision of digitalization of the education. It's a very big problem. Another big problem is cyber security. And you have recently we have seen that AIMS has been hacked by the hackers. So cyber security problem is there. So it should be a good challenges while we are facing this use of digital education, in my view.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So my next question to Anil, sir. Sir, is there a need to continue the culture of book reading on a major note when you compare with the digital learning?
Yeah, as continuation to Alisa's context, obviously digitalization is required, so there are a lot of advantages. But what I think is whether you take it in a lighter way or whether you want to see in a scientific way, book reading is obviously having a lot of advantages than digitalization. So, for example, we'll start with the lighter way of taking it. So, always we used to have a fantasy of keeping more books in your library, or when you see particularly having a reading room. Okay, always is one type of pride, and always we have an emotional attachment to keeping books or reading books. So coming to the scientific portion of this, so it has been observed that MRI scans, if you take MRI scans, and people who read literary content, okay, or literary fiction, so it is said that it almost creates pain and sensation as if you're doing a physical activity. Okay. That cannot be done with a iPhone or whatever digital content which is developing. So you can see a lot of students are mostly, even I'm saying because I'm in a teaching profession, so I'm seeing most of the students, they ask for digital content now. They don't want to carry
Books.
Heavy books actually. So and also so decrease in what you can say attendance or people students who are getting into libraries. So but important thing is, as I was saying, if you particularly see the scientific thing in this, it is said that book reading, if you have book reading rather than digitalization, it improves the neural networks of the brain, which particularly digital content cannot do. And the second thing is whenever a person tries to, as Ali sir was saying, tries to read a book, concentration is exactly on the book, and he is developing his interest into a particular topic. So one thing or one work at a time, okay, that improves concentration. Digitalization has the opposite effect. So when you're trying to read something, so there will be pop-ups, so distraction, so and lot of jumping into different types of contents. And second thing is, whenever a person reads a book, there is internalization. So that is he develop his creative skills. So one point of time, maybe everybody has experienced this. When you read a book, you try to create your own perspective of the book.
Yes.
And also we all know depending upon different cultural and family aspects, so each one of us have different view on the book, how we imagine. So it develops creative skills, internalization, etc. And the most thing I would say why book is advantageous is it is a reviewed content. So if you take digital content, obviously you have a lot of blogs, we do not know. So maybe you can see even there are blogs who say what to treat. Somebody gives a message. We have seen like there are some digests, I don't want to name them, but if you see, they'll ask you So I have arthritis from 2 years, or I have a particular problem, what to do? So directly people start giving solutions, okay, and you do not know which one to follow. So more standardized and reviewed content can be taken from books. So if you see, so basic habit, or if you want to see it in from a scientific point of view of taking some topic and developing a view on a topic, book is always good.
Thank you, sir. That's beautiful. And sir, my next question to Ali, sir. Sir, is there a role to be played by a family in imparting education to a child?
Actually, Abraham Lincoln's a quote, it reminds me a quote of Abraham Lincoln. He said that the philosophy of this generation will be the philosophy of government in the next generation. It states that what we are following from the beginning itself will be followed in the future. So these days parents are thinking that education is confined only for institutions, schools, colleges and privates, and they are imparting their children from morning to evening to only for education. But they're forgetting that family is also plays important role in education. For example, when a child is learning a language, small words can be imparted or can be made him to learn in house itself, and some biological sciences, parts of the body, how it functions, and basic economics, civics, and basic mathematics. Most of the concepts will be taught by the family, and he can see lively in the society also. Many concepts. For example, if you go on the some park or bus stand or something, a beggar will come back to the person and ask. If he gives money, automatically he will cite to the other beggars, and supply and demand concept will work there. Like that, a person who sells something chocolates and biscuits, he will go only to the customer who is having a children. He won't go and sell to the adults. Means they are how to find a customer. Many of the economic concepts and civics concept, they think that they are in books, but they are actually in the society. So how the children can learn? Through family only. Many basic concepts should be taught in the family, that he will get revised in the education institution, and later he can apply in life. If we impart with digitalization regarding this, by using new concepts like virtual reality and cloud based learning and artificial intelligence, then it can create a tremendous interest and development of many concepts. And some of the basics like cognitive behaviors and society management, how to manage itself, how to behave, this can be taught through family only. Freedom choosing, and later how the person should behave in the society, and how he should live with others. School and education institutes provide that platform, because when he go to the school or education institutes, there he will face numerous n number of different culture students, different goal having students, goal oriented, different types of mindsets. There he can provide. So that by that platform he can transform himself into a good person and good citizen, following the laws and good thinking ability.
Thank you, sir. So, Bapiraju, sir, finally to conclude this topic as a whole, can you suggest us some changes or reforms that can be brought on an individual level or from the point of educational institutions?
Thank you for that question, Santhosh. Maybe I have very little experience to suggest at this point, but with a little experience and little knowledge with my co-workers or with my students, so maybe I have 4 to 5 opinions I have, particularly for the reforms that we can do in this educational system as of now. As rightly said by Ali, family education is very important, maybe not at the basic concepts of maths or civics, but more importantly in the basic concepts of common sense. I feel that family plays a major role. So today we have seen that most of the families, most of the joint families have converted into nuclear families, where the basic ethics have been missing in the children. So maybe UGC and other regulatory bodies at higher education level, they have implemented that universal ethics at the point of graduation. Maybe I personally feel that it should be embedded at the level of school education, where it is very important at that particular stage to start concepts of ethics because of these nuclear families. And secondly, maybe I feel myself that today we have lot many of engineers, lot many of doctors, lot many of pharmacists, but we don't have a worker who works with AC repairing, or we don't have enough manpower, particularly in the concepts of skilled workers. So today we are lacking a lot of that, and definitely if we go on neglecting that skilled workers, that could bring a huge impact on the economic policies also. So I feel myself that we need to focus more on skilled based education, and development of skill based workers also, employees also, is very important for a country like India. And maybe one more thing to talk about accreditations and these things. According to the reports of Ministry of Education, we have almost 50 to 60,000 of higher education institutes, in which hardly 10% have been accredited by the bodies like NAC and NBA. See, whatever simple things we buy, for example, if you want to buy a small toy, you look for ISA standard. If you want to look for a gold, you look for the KDM mark or hallmark. So if it is for the simple things we are looking into that, it's a very big junction of converting students into citizens of next generation. For that, we don't have a stringent accreditation system which has been followed.
Absolutely.
So maybe that has to be made mandatory for every institute. So whatever approvals we give from the side of government, it should be done only on the basis of accreditation of maybe some body which is working under the government. And lastly, and again, this particular point requires hues of discussions. Maybe I'm biased at some point, maybe, or not. It's something talking from last or talking from years, the system of reservation in education. So at the personal context, I feel that there should be some particular fields, especially in the field of medicine or in the field of engineering, there should not be any scope of reservation for the study or for the being educated. So you can have reservations for their employment, or you can have the reservations for their upliftment, or you can give special incentives, or you can do something else to bring the backward sections. But I don't agree to have reservation particularly based on caste in this system, which has to be reformed. And this point definitely requires huge discussion. So these are the few insights, particularly in the reforms I suggest for next level education.
Beautiful, sir. Thank you. Thank you all the panel members for your valuable time and advices. So that's it from today's discussion. Another day, another topic. We'll be meeting again. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.